time, your support, and most importantly, your vote. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Let's give our elected officials a round of applause. So my campaign chairman was Stanley Moore. I've had a wonderful working relationship with his father, Commissioner Moore, and his son was the first elected official to join in and help and support. Thank you so much, Commissioner Moore. I'd also like to give a very special thank you to Alderwoman Pat Dowell.
Yes.
Now, let me explain. She's a class act. So we competed for this seat. No harm, no foul. We took our case to the people. After the election was over, I called and asked if I could see her. She was reaching out to me. We went out to lunch, and she says, "Jonathan, I'm very proud of you." Excuse me, I meant Congressman Jackson just did. And she says, "I do believe the better person for the job won." That's what Alderwoman Pat Dowell said. What a wonderful person. Thank you, Alderwoman Dowell. I'm sharing that with you for the future generation of persons that's going to occupy this seat and all these other elected seats. Let's keep our community together. Let's run in dignity. Yes. Let's build this community up. Okay? Thank you, Alderman David Moore. David Moore has been out here entrenched in the communities. He sent me this young man, remarkable, Mr. Foley, University of Chicago student that was an intern this summer. It's been absolutely remarkable. I want to say a very special thank you, Alderman Moore. I want to say a very special thank you to Brother Will Hall. We went to the border some years ago, and he's still on the case. Let's have a very quick presentation. Where have I been? What have I been doing? This is the Illinois 1st Congressional District. The 1st Congressional District used to be in one county. Now it's in 3 counties because we've had depopulation. In the first 2 decades of the new millennium, we've lost over 200,000 African-American residents out of our district, out of the city. So now we go from roughly Roosevelt Road in the lakefront, all through the hearts of the South Side, all the way to Kankakee. Wow. So sometimes when we say, well, where's the congressman? 3/5, 4/5 of the landmass is outside of the city of Chicago. So when you see these vacant lots, we have been moved out of the city. So we have to continue to fight for urban renewal, for investments in our community. My committee assignments, I'm on the Committee of Foreign Affairs, so we look at policy decisions around the world, and specifically, I'm on the subcommittee for Africa. I've got some upcoming news I'm going to share with you soon, not today. Committee on Agriculture. Agriculture has absolutely blown me away. People are like, well, why are you on the Department of Agriculture? Why are you on the Agricultural Committee? One of the persons that was trying to be smart and talk a little bit disparaging, and I told this farmer congressman, everybody eats. We eat too in the city. That's why I'm on the Department of Agriculture. But what you need to understand about the Department of Agriculture, next to the Department of Defense, this is the biggest spending budget in the nation, in the whole entire Congress. There, we are currently negotiating a 1.5 trillion with a T budget that goes out for 5 years in the Department of Agriculture. Most towns and municipalities under 50,000 persons have a relationship with the Department of Agriculture. And I mean, it's full of everything from rural broadband to SNAP, supplemental nutrition and assistance. 80% of that $1.5 trillion goes into feeding women and children. When you saw the budget being held up in this past May, the only concession that they were able to get is they wanted to raise the work requirements for women between the ages of 49 and 54. Well, if you go underneath that and look at the numbers, Black women are twice as likely to be in that demographic. So they're trying to cut the food and service and assistance program from our community. So this is a fight that's going to be had. Ironically, Congressman McCall, what's his name now? We've had so many speakers this year. What was the first speaker we had? test. Thank you, Gator. Congressman McCarthy. We had McCarthy, then Jordan went forth, and we have from North Carolina, and then Emmer, and then Scalise, and now we're done with Johnson. But, fun fact, we voted for a speaker 19 times this year in the Congress, and I've had the privilege, by being your representative, of mentioning for Speaker of the House 19 times, Leader Hakeem Jeffries. So, the subcommittee is on nutrition, foreign agriculture, horticulture. There's a lot of programs in here, and we're going to talk in some additional town halls in person and on the phones of urban gardening and other things. There's a lot of great programs in this, and so we're going to probably have to have a seminar just on the specifics on what's in the agriculture. And the subcommodity, let me show you how God works. The subcommodity on digital markets, the commodities, and asset and rural development. I first wanted to get on the finance committee. I love banking and financial institutions. That was not available. So then Leader Jeffries ended up calling me and saying that I want you on the ag committee. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what it is, but I'll do it. I'll get on in there. And then I open it up and I see what it is. Chicago, our largest industry in the financial service sector is what? In the financial services, and that's in agriculture. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the Chicago Board of Trade, the Chicago Board of Options is all related. So New York has the financial securities, the assets and the bonds. Chicago has all the commodity traders. Look at God. He made me on top of the agriculture. Sometimes you have to go forward, then you'll find out. So keep looking. Then we've got, what do we do in the congressional office? We can help you with federal issues. People have called me asking for their garbage removed. Ask me if I can help them find an attorney. Let me tell you exactly what the office can do. I'll open this to you. If you have Social Security issues, Medicare, veteran issues, visas, when you need your passport, if you haven't looked at your passport recently, please look at it because most of them have expired and it's almost a 6 months wait. So please get those in. If you have issues with HUD, the federal housing issues, Small Business Administration, healthcare, education, and Internal Revenue Service, that is something else that we can help you with. Now, as we look at constituent services, constituent services, if you call the office and you have a group of students, or if your family wants to come to Washington, D.C. and get a tour of the White House, a tour of the Capitol, or the Library of Congress, we have personnel that can help your family, help you arrange the tour time that you can visit. And it's very important to me that we start seeing a busload and a plane load of our children going to Washington. I see students from all over the country, all around the world. Let's make sure our children take advantage of seeing our city hall, our county government, our Springfield, that's a fabulous museum in Springfield, to see the Lincoln Library, and let's see the Capitol. Let's make sure our children see all of these different events. Students that want to go to the Service Academy need nominations, Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines. We can assist you. We're in the process now of vetting persons that we're making recommendations. So if you have students or family members, you can find additional information in the lobby on the Congressional Apps Challenge. This is an app for those that have the STEM aptitude or interest. There's a congressional challenge that we can help support and show you the rules that you can possibly become a winner and get additional support. Art competition, something I would like for those of you here today, please give us your name, number, and information. Let's get art competition back into the schools. Our children need the visual arts. There are 435 congressional districts. If you're the winner of a district, you in turn will be able to have your art displayed if you're a senior in high school in the Capitol building in the hallway. So I want to make that a very robust and big program. Our children need to have some instruments and they need to have some art equipment. Let's give our children all the arts that they desire. This is some of the notable legislation. We've signed on to over 200 pieces of legislation. I'm proud to say that the first piece of legislation I signed on to was H.R. 40 for the study to advance reparations for the African American community. So things like assault weapons ban, ceasefire in Israel and occupied Palestine, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, the Green New Deal for public schools to put green rooftops and energy-saving equipment on top of the schools. I had the opportunity to be in Israel this past September, and so I am pro-reconciliation. We have to start the peace process now, and so that is why I signed on to a ceasefire. The activities that took place was god-awful with the Hamas and the attack, but when has revenge ever been a good idea? We have to stop this turn. On the migrant crisis, I'll just go through this very quickly. The challenges that we're... Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor. What's happening in Chicago right now in the migrant crisis? We're looking at warehouses being used, police stations, schools, libraries, all of these different places. I want to give you a little bit of a background on how did we get to this point and where the federal government is and what's happening in Chicago. So this will be a deep dive. I'm not a flyby, and I can sit here and talk with you all night long. This is what you got me here for, so I'm available. I'm not running. Where are the migrants coming from in this wave? The migrants in large part are coming from Venezuela. What's happened in Venezuela? The United States, after President Hugo Chavez came to power almost 15 years ago, he has since has died. He was a socialist and was doing a lot of economic reforms. There was a backlash against his government by the United States. So we started doing an embargo, blocking his oil sales. Then from there, we started the sanctions under the Trump administration. So what's happened in the last 15 years in Venezuela is they've had the equivalent of 3 Great Depressions. So this is one of the wealthiest countries on earth if they could sell their oil. But they've had the equivalent of 3 Great Depressions. So now over 7 million people have had to leave their country. Many of the people that you're seeing in these shelters and police stations had a house, had an apartment, had a place to stay. But because we've taken them out of the foreign exchange process, the United States government, you cannot use a U.S. credit card in Venezuela. They cannot sell their oil to the United States. They have suffered 3 Great Depressions. And because we're the only country in the region and in the world that has a problem with Venezuela, they want to leave. And in turn, the bordering countries end up welcoming them and transporting them to the next city, all the way to the Mexican border. So from Caracas, Venezuela to Chicago, Illinois is 2,499 miles. You can walk to Caracas, Venezuela. You can drive to Caracas, Venezuela. You can bicycle to Caracas, Venezuela. You don't need to fly. You don't need to take a boat. It's one contiguous landmass, is what I want people to understand. And then we're going to go into a deeper dive on how did we get to this current challenge. The migrant crisis timeline starts when Hugo Chavez is elected. There's repercussions. The United States wasn't happy. Mr. Chavez has since deceased. And then Maduro came in there, and the United States got even more selective in its prosecution and sanctions against them. Then he had a failed coup attempt in 2018. Then the United States puts in sanctions on the oil. They also own the Citgo oil company. The Venezuelan oil company has hyperinflation. We're talking about the 4 and 5% that we have on eggs and milk. They started having 75 and 100 and 200% inflation. So people could no longer eat there. And now the imports resume, eventually increasing to 153,000 barrels of crude oil a day. They had been totally shut down. President Biden, 3 weeks ago, lifted some of these sanctions so they could start selling oil so fewer people would be leaving. Why do we have to deal with this? Because there are over 400,000 people from Colombia and up the Pan American Highway that are trying to get here. So this is only the beginning of the wave. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. In Venezuela, highly dependent on fossil fuel, the sanctions have contributed to their economic hardship, and their inflation rate has been hovering around 300%. That is why people have had to leave the country to come here. The impact on the city of Chicago and our region specifically has created more social unrest. There's been a disruption of public services. I, like many of you, have gone into a police station, and it is simply awful that the police stations have become shelters. This reduces the amount of time from which the police can leave and get to our houses when we're experiencing crime. This is why we all have to deal with this here. The last part is the uncertainty of the next steps. I was with Mayor Johnson this past week in Washington, D.C. He asked the President's Chief of Staff for $5 billion in additional funding so that we can offset this, not just for Chicago, but the 6 urban markets that Governor Greg Abbott is sending migrant populations to. I want to tell you about that. So Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, created a program. Oh, and you don't have to worry about taking pictures of the slide. This fancy staff I have, they've got a QR code. These slides are going to be available. You're going to be able to go online and get your pictures. So we're going to go high tech. So there is a QR code that you'll be able to download your photos that you took in the lobby, as well as any of the presentation material I want you to have. So Governor Greg Abbott, what did he do specifically? Governor Abbott created in April of 2022. Mayor Lori Lightfoot was on front of this and on top of it. She started trying to combat the wave that what Mr. Abbott was doing. He created Operation Lone Star, and the purpose of that was to send this migrant population to 6 cities, this is his quote, that had Democratic mayors to take this population. So he's receiving money from ICE and other agencies and FEMA, keeping the money, and then sending the people on. Oh. I sent out a letter 3 weeks ago, asking the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security to investigate Governor Greg Abbott on child smuggling. So we first have to protect children. There are some seedy elements that are now coming around these police stations. Some people prey on children and prey on vulnerability. This is a portal, this is an entryway to prostitution and sex trafficking. I want it to stop. When we have children and families sleeping outside in 30-degree weather, you and I are walking as fast as we can to a bus shelter, to the train, or to our car. We don't want to stay outside in 30 degrees. They come from a region, in large part, that 60 degrees is cold. They've never experienced anything like this. The reason I'm bringing this up, and I can mention this on this Sunday, our scriptures have a lot to say about the strangers, the migrants, and the refugees. So I don't want our community to turn on one another. We're going to see our way through this, but I want us to be informed as to what's going on. We're going to collaborate with our elected officials. Maybe there's some things that they have in the works I don't know about, things that I'm doing I need to share with them, so we can have united force in front so we can share with you. I've asked all these elected officials to come out. I want to thank the ones that were available today. Others were available, but others were not available, but they sent representatives. Any other representative of an aldermanic office or state rep office I have not acknowledged, will you please stand? I know there were some chiefs and staff. What office?
21st, Ronnie Mosley.
Ronnie Mosley, thank Alderman Mosley.
Carla Glover from Alderman Ronnie Mosley's office.
Yep, so Ronnie Mosley's office. Alderman Yancey, thank him. Alderman Lamont Robinson, had sent a representative, so thank you all. I want you to know where the resources are. We're going to collaborate with elected officials. I've got a few action items that I would like to see them do, but let's go on into this housing. Currently, there are more than 68,000 Chicagoans experiencing homelessness in Chicago. We have to deal with both and. We can't have Chicagoans being stepped over to help other populations. I sent the letter off to our Secretary of HUD, Marcia Fudge. She's going to respond back to me. There's some other initiatives that are coming out. First of all, the state of Illinois is a sanctuary state. Chicago is a sanctuary city. This is not Chicago's burden alone. Some of these persons ought to be given the opportunity, both our residents and some of the migrants, to go to other parts of the state, to go to Peoria, to go to Moline, to go to Evanston, to go to Kenilworth, to go to Oak Park, to go to some of the nice places as well, go to Oak Brook. Everyone deserves a better shot in life. So we've got 68,000 people that are homeless that are Chicagoans, and a large part of those are veterans. I don't have the slide right now, but I've got to get it for you. But you need to see what the federal government has done over the last 40 years with public housing. They have continued to erode and take away and reduce the amount of public housing. That is why we need to vote our interest and vote our numbers, come out and vote so we can get back to the majority. Congresswoman Maxine Waters, over the financial services, have proposed $150 billion for affordable housing. Listen, that would eliminate all housing issues in America. So I don't take the vote lightly when they talk about $100 billion going to all these wars and all this defense abroad. We need to have some investments right here in our country. And I started looking at the numbers, $100 billion. Wow. $100 billion. That reminds me of the young rapper, Shay. They had asked him, could he spell millions? And he said, M-I-L-illions. Well, when they talk about these billions, it's B-I-L-illions. It's so many, and they act like it's not consequential. $100 billion could eradicate, could find the cure to eliminate Alzheimer's. $100 billion could eliminate Parkinson's. Don't get me started on what $100 billion can do in a peacetime. And a fun fact I looked up is in 2001, we had 9/11, 2002, the Bush administration created the Homeland Security. I think they were initially funded at $6 billion and 2002, and then they got up to $19 billion by 2003. Who knows how much is in the Homeland Security budget now? Give me a stand up. You may win. Huh? $103 billion is what we're paying in Homeland Security. That's not to the Department of Defense. That's just for Homeland Security. So I'm telling you, we've spent over $1 trillion in the last 20 years just on Homeland. That's not the Department of Justice. That's not the Central Intelligence Agency. That's just Homeland Security. So unless we start finding another way to resolve conflicts without war, that budget's going to go even higher. And that's $100 billion, by the way. Housing disparities, Black individuals in Chicago have 2 times the foreclosure rates of whites. The discrimination in the lending practices continues. We need to have the 14th Amendment applied, equal justice under the law. This disparity is gutting and ripping out our communities. The residents that live in the south suburbs, they were targeted with subprime loans. Subprime loans simply meant, and I first read about it in a Red Book report in 1993, the Federal Bank Reserve of Boston, and they described subprime as 3 percentage points or 300 basis points over prime. So we pay more money for less. Don't you think subprime ought to be less? It shouldn't cost you more. You know what prime beef is. Come on, like subprime. Same difference. We're paying more for less. That systemic discrimination and racism has not been rooted out of the system. We're still overcharged for basic services. Second part, black homes in Chicago have appreciated at 2/3 the citywide average. African Americans, that there are 77 communities in the city of Chicago. We primarily live in 22 communities on the south and the west side. And our home values on average are 2/3, real close to 3/5 of a human, huh? It's 2/3 the value of the citywide average. This is a problem. I am working with Congresswoman Maxine Waters in the Congressional Black Caucus on housing equity to stop the appraisers from discriminating on our housing value. And thus, as a consequence of the discrimination, the black community has the largest foreclosure, housing losses, and other things. Action items: the cost of living, accessibility, safety, access to food, access to education, access to transportation. In order to have a healthy communities, these are the building blocks that we first have to have access to. Reverend Martin Luther King was not just concerned about a seat on the bus. That was the symbolism of it. He was more concerned about, he was a man of God, the mass transit system. When we have fewer buses going downtown and less reliable mass transit rail to go downtown, when we don't have the red line going to the hundreds and to the southeast corridor, we have been excluded, economically asphyxiated from the most industrious and productive parts of the city. The Chicago Transit Authority, say Chicago Transit Authority, goes to Skokie, Illinois. The Chicago Transit Authority goes to Evanston, Illinois. The Chicago Transit Authority goes to Forest Park, Illinois. The Chicago Transit Authority goes out toward Bridgeview and beyond, but doesn't cover all of Chicago. Do you see the problem? I want you to look the next time you're driving down the Eisenhower, when you see those train stops that are closed. That is unbelievable, that you would close a mass transit site. Who lived in those neighborhoods? What happened to the housing after they closed the mass transit? Everything went down, down, down. What happened in 2013 that we should remember in 2023? We had the largest school closure of elementary schools in America. So what happens 10 years later? Our population is shrinking. We have more walkers than strollers because they closed the elementary schools.
That's it.
Health, and I'm going to ask my dear friend, Dr. Damon Arnold, to join me on the stage at this time. Dr. Damon Arnold, Colonel Dr. Damon Arnold, Colonel Dr. Damon Arnold, the former head of the Illinois Department of Public Health. I've asked him to come and be a part of our discussion today on public health. This is the general number from across the world. There's a hunger issue going around the world. Please have a seat over here, Dr. Arnold. And this man's a colonel, too.
Right.
Look at it this way. I love the numbers. What they say, figures don't lie, but liars do figure. But the figures, I'm born in 1966. I'm 57 years of age. The world had 3.5 billion people in 1966.
Okay.
For all of human history up until the 19th century, there have been less than 1 billion people inhabiting Earth. From 1966 to 2023, now we have 8 billion people on Earth. We have a strain on resources like we've never seen before. So you're looking at 670 million people worldwide will be malnourished by 2030. So when you talk about the climate crisis and the food crisis, you're going to see more economic and more political instability because countries aren't going to be able to feed themselves. Blacks are most likely to experience food insecurity. When they closed down our Target that had food, when they closed down our Walmarts that had food, when they closed down our, the Dominick's that had food, and we don't have the transit, we are seeing a rise in malnutrition that Dr. Arnold will speak to us about. 25% of households in Chicago are food insecure. Let me tell you, you have to watch the language of rich people. It gets very, very sophisticated. What used to be called hunger is now food insecurity.
Right. Right.
I mean, they would tell you that a poor person lies and a rich person prevaricates. It's the same thing.
Makes sense.
When they tell you that you have done something fraudulent, if you're rich enough and big enough, they tell you that was a mortgage manipulation and a mortgage crisis, mortgage fraud. I mean, it's the same theft. So watch the language. Food insecure is meaning there are babies, more than 25%, 1 in every 4 people you see have not had enough to eat. So we are now being overfed and malnourished. So juvenile diabetes has taken off, skyrocketed in our neighborhood. Another fact I saw, if the average American today weighed what the average American weighed 40 years ago, the nation would save $1 trillion annually in healthcare costs. Our children are being fed the wrong things. So in the Department of Agriculture, I'm trying to get the chairman, Mr. Thompson, to give us a date to have a listening session. And I'm going to text and email you back so we can come out and let him know why we need the SNAP food program so our children will have the proper nutrition. That's going to be evaluated. Health disparities, black diabetes, black homicide, black infants, black opioids, black mortality rate 2 times higher. I'm going to ask my sister, Santita Jackson. Where's Miss Santita? Yeah, if you come over here. We can take our time. We'll get there. I'm going to turn the program over to Santita and Dr. Arnold so they can have a conversation for the next 15 minutes on what's happening with health care and health disparities in the city of Chicago. And then I will resume. Thank you. Microphone.
Podium.
Hello, everybody.
Santita.
Oh, you can do better than that. How you doing, everyone? It's wonderful to have a congressman who gives us so much information. Let's hear it for Congressman Jonathan Jackson. Just very briefly, my name is Santita Jackson. I am his older sister.
Okay, put a hand on it.
Eldest. That's right. And I'm on WCBT. Hope you'll join me there Monday through Friday and on Keep Hope Alive on Sundays. That having been said, this is the largest progressive talk radio station. We want to hear from you. I asked Congressman Jackson, why do you want to have this town hall? He said, we have lots of crises that are facing us out in the world, but they're impacting us here. And we have had problems here, and he said, I don't want to fix the blame, I want to fix the problem. So what we want to do here today is hear from you, hear from people. I'm so glad that Rhyme Fest, Chase Smith is here, brilliant producer for Kanye West. Give it up for Rhyme Fest. You're going to hear from him. But he wants to hear from you so that he can take you back to Washington with him because he represents you. Which brings us right here, because in Chicago, we see something that is playing out, Dr. Arnold, all over the country, the health disparities between black and white. And even indigenous people have worse health outcomes than black people. So explain what happens in Inglewood and what happens in the North Shore.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to first, recognize your mom. She is the mother to many of us. She's been an advocate and civil rights leader for so many years, and many of you are sitting here because of the work of Reverend Jackson and what she's done to bring things to our community. And without their family support, a lot of people would not be here today. So I just want to say that that's in itself. And
Love you, Mom.
go to Santita Jackson and show, put that into your Google.
Yeah.
And you will go to the Yahoo site, but the YouTube site, and all the things are listed there. But I listen to her show every week because there are things, she brings people on there that are going to tell you accurate information. One of the greatest disservices we have going on in our community right now is misinformation. I told people in the CDC one time, because I was asking them, what do you know about Albert Einstein? And a lot of them said, oh, E equals MC squared, all this other stuff. But when it came down to it, I said, he was actually a civil rights leader. And you don't even know that. He was with Paul Robeson in the anti-lynching movement. He was a co-chair. He was one of the founders of the NAACP. He did so many things for us as a community, but they don't let you know that in school.
They don't.
So that miseducation, you got to get over that and re-educate yourself. Listen to our show. But the difference between the north side and the south side is years. It's a decade or more of a difference in your death rate. And the reason why you have a difference in your death rate comes back down to just lift your hand and look at your hand. I want you to lift your hand and look at your hand. This is the instrument of your death, if you so choose to use it for that. It can bring a cigarette to your mouth. It can bring cholesterol and fat-laden foods to your mouth. It can make you eat things that are going to be destructive to your body. It can make you take drugs. It can actually bring infectious diseases to your mouth. Your hand controls your destiny. It can put a gun in your hand, or can. It can put a keyboard on a computer or the instrument of choking someone to death. So watch what your hands do, and it comes back to what's inside of your head. They have put chemical warfare agents on our shelves in our grocery stores. Those chemical warfare agents you're putting into your body to kill you. When I was overseas looking at, nuclear, biological, chemical warfare agents and all that, I said they're the same things as what we're putting on our shelves to put into our bodies. Alcohol. They cause disease and destruction, heart attacks, strokes, and death, cancer. And we allow them to come into our communities and pollute our shelves. Make sure that you are listening to having a great, efficient diet, a vegan diet, as close as you can get. All of us are going to take a little break here and there and eat something, a hamburger or something like that. You better stay on a good diet. And what's the difference? Jonathan was Congressman Jackson was mentioning many things about what's going on in the marketplace. Think about this. The average age of death for African-American men and women is back in the low 60s, and for African American women, early 70s. For white men and women, it's in the 70s to 80s. So if you die close to your age of retirement, 65, you don't get your Social Security, you don't get your pension, you lose all of that money, billions and billions of dollars a year that can come to our community to help us. So I just wanted to emphasize the difference between what you do with your hand and how long you live makes a difference for how our community survives.
Well, my question is, given the fact, come on. A lot of these choices are made for us. We live in food deserts, right? They bundle up fast food, but they don't bundle up vegetables. They don't bundle up fruit. So what would you recommend that Congressman Jackson, as he is on the Agriculture Committee, what policy recommendations can you make? Because, our pastor, Reverend Clay Evans, David said, Alderman Moore said that I've never seen God make a mouth he couldn't feed. There's enough good food down here for everybody. How can we get access to it?
Well, I think one of the things that is a possibility is that, first of all, is the truth. And they say the truth will set you free. That's one of my favorite Bible passages. And what I've learned here today is a lot of truth I didn't know. When he was talking about the migration of people, when he was talking about what happened in our communities, first you need to know the truth. So he's actually telling you what is the problem, right? That's the first step. The second step is to have support in what you are doing. We are people in a community, and don't come back after an election and complain about what happened, right? If you're not part of the solution, it takes the community to support whatever legislation is coming through, to make sure that he understands accurate information about what you need and what you want. And without that, you can't go anywhere. If he pushes through and says we should open 5 food stores in the community, and you get pushback from people because they don't understand what this means, that this stuff is killing you out here. We have to have a new mindset. We have to reimagine who we are and re-educate ourselves about what's important and why it's important for your kids not to go to school after eating 15 scoops of sugar.
Yeah.
Say that.
But a nutritional meal in the morning. Not going to lunch to go to a candy store like a lot of us used to do and eat candy bars, so you come back and your insulin level is going through the ceiling and the sugar goes away, and then you feel like you're knocked out. You can't learn if you're knocked out. They're poisoning your mind as you're going through the process of learning. By the 3rd to 5th grade in Russia, you know what they do? In Russia, they give you a test in the 5th grade. And that test determines whether you're going to be part of the labor pool, part of the legislative pool, or part of the people who are going to be running the country. 5th grade. In 2011, they went and they looked at the 3rd and 5th grade reading scores. And in California, they built 1 university. And they built 22 prisons in 1 year. Because they knew who they were producing. So wake up, look about what we're feeding our kids, and go to those stores and demand that they give you what Congressman Jackson is telling you you need to be fed. Wake up and become part of the solution.
Dr. David Arnold, everybody. Aren't we blessed to have had him as the head of our Illinois Department of Public Health? And we need more of this. Come on, give it up. If you could write a prescription for all of us here today, what would you tell us to do? I'm asking because they changed the standards by which you determined to be diabetic. They lowered them. So more of us are diabetic than we know. They're talking about getting more of us to get in the armed services. We're not healthy enough to do that, right? It's not just obesity, but we cannot pay, whether you're slim or overweight, many of us cannot pass basic health tests. We're taking physical education out of schools and on and on. What is a basic prescription that you would write for a child, for someone entering adulthood, and the rest of us?
Okay. Yeah, I think the prescription would be this. One is get your evaluations by qualified healthcare provider. Make sure you go for your checkups. Make sure people take better care of their cars than they do of their own bodies. You hear something going wrong, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go in and get a checkup.
Well, let me insert a carrot here. What
Right.
people are on in the public health care system? If you are on Obamacare or if you're on in the public health care system, can you get a primary care physician?
Yes, you should make sure that you have adequate health care coverage. Make sure that you are going and you're covered. Make sure you get your vaccinations. Don't listen to a lot of false information out there. There are people who I saw dying on ventilators, begging to get vaccinated because someone told them not to. It was too late. Make sure that you're getting adequate, true information. Listen to a show like Santita's show. I'm telling you, she has people on there, experts telling you the correct information. Make sure you have the right dietary plan for yourself. I get at least 10,000 steps a day. I have my little phone over here. There's a heart thing you can download. It tells you how many steps you've taken in a day. It's been proven that if you have 7,200 steps or more a day, if you have to go in for surgery, even if it's emergency surgery, your likelihood of getting recovering faster is 90% better. You are going to recover faster. You have to be in shape if you have any kind of medical thing happening to you. Make sure that you take your kids off of those damn machines and talk to them. That artificial intelligence is trying to get into the minds of your kids, and they are winning. Take them away from that. Make sure we have an intergenerational conversation. Things that we did were wrong, about stuff that we were putting in our bodies, about showing people smoking on TV. You even had doctors smoking on TV. Get rid of those images, tell them that was wrong. You want them to have a better life. You want them to live to see their kids grow up and their grandkids grow up.
Give it up for Dr. David Arnold, everybody. Former director of the Illinois Department of Public Health. You can do better than that. This is what we would like to do, Congressman. Following your instructions, what we would like to do, we want to hear, you said you wanted to hear from the people, and they have sent-in questions, and they are also with us today. So you let me know how would you like to do this. We want to line some people up so that we can get questions from the audience. We can disagree without being disagreeable, amen? Amen. All right, we want to fix the problem and not the blame, right? Okay, so we're going to line some people up, but then there are many questions that people have here. Congressman? Of course.
Hello. Also like to share, thank you, Alderman Ronnie, Mosley just came in. Thank you, Brother Mosley, for being here today, 21st Ward. Before you leave, I want you to know there are resources that are in the center part of the building. There's an IRS tax advocate, the Illinois Department of Aging, if you've got issues, concerns, questions about family and aging, Chicago chapter, the National Black Nurses Association, we all need a nurse, People's Gas. We're gonna also have a CETA conference to help people with CETA and LIHEAP. Illinois National Guard is in that solarium area as well. And we have a casework mobile office. The items we had shown you earlier, the IRS and other things, tours. If you want to do something today on the spot, the office is here. so we can accommodate you. At this point, we're going to take questions from those that are here first, and then we can go through some other questions that were sent in. So please let us start the questions if you like. I want to thank Dr. Damon Arnold. Give him a loving round of applause. Program wouldn't be all that special if we didn't have a celebrity. Where's Shay Rhymefest? Is Rhymefest in here? Rhymefest is in the house. Chicago's own Grammy Award artist. Thank you, Rhymefest. And let me say it again. Dr. Arnold got in front of me. Love you, Mom. Thank you so much for everything. I thank my mom for coming out and being a part of today. Let's hear from you.
Congressman, don't go too far. Oh, boy, we have a lot of questions for you today. Well, Marissa, let us begin. Okay, Matt? Hang on.
Loretta, let's go.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity, Congressman Jackson. My concern is what Humana is doing that most people are not aware. As of January 1st of 2024, if you have what we call a commercial policy, employer policy, it would become inactive for the country. As of January 1st, 2024, they sent out letters, but my concern, I'm sure that a lot of people did not receive their letters. They're going to keep Medicare and Medicaid Advantage programs. But if you're a regular person like me, who happens to be retired federal, or working active federal, state, county, doesn't matter. If you work for Ford, if you work for Coca-Cola, if you work for Pepsi, you will not have insurance. It is up to you to find a new policy during open enrollment. If you're federal, our open enrollment is November the 13th for the country. If you do not make this selection, they will make it for you. You do not want that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. a veteran. Thank you so much for your service, Ms. Loretta. And I have the privilege of giving a classmate of mine, putting her name in the Congressional records. We can do that for many of you as well. So we want to know the veterans, people who've been married for 50 years. We're going to probably have to lower that, Mom. Those who've been married for 30 years, 20 years, 5 years. We're going to congratulate you as well. That'll get into the Congressional record. Okay. That number's coming on. Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Wonderful, and yourself?
I'm 60 years old. I've seen some of these things before. When you look at this influx, let me start. NPR reported from August of last year to December of this year, they will spend $252 million on the migrants. $252 million. 17,000 migrants coming to this city. And just in Chicago. If we just break that in half and they become families, you got 8,500 families. Hispanics have 3.5 children. I'm submitting to you, in one generation, just one generation, the black vote will be null. They will have an additional 24,000 people on the voting roll, along with the Hispanic population already here. They're playing chess, and you all are playing chess. You are damning our youth, our next generation, to poverty by you all doing these political speeches. One generation, our youth, our vote will be null in all these 6 sanctuary cities. And what are you going to do about that?
Thank you very much. The first thing we have to do is to make sure that those that are coming here unlawfully stop. I don't have anything to do with persons' reproduction levels. If people want to have more children, you certainly can. Second part is, 2/3 of our hemisphere, speak Spanish. They're not Americans in general. So there's a natural balance of people that are non-English speaking in our own hemisphere that can walk up here all the time. The third part that we have to be very much concerned about is we can't lose our land and be moved off of it because of government policy. I am focused on the housing issues because the housing and the jobs is what keeps us as residents of this district and in the residents of the Illinois. The first stat I threw out to you was 200,000 people, African Americans, that moved off our land in the first 2 decades. That's a federal issue. That's why I work with Congresswoman Maxine Waters. That's why we've introduced with the Congressional Black Caucus to have additional funding to make sure we have housing. I can't hear you, sir. What did he say? You can't hear what? I'm sorry. You didn't hear me or what? Oh. I'm sorry. I can't hear you, sir.
Sir, if you can come back to the mic, because what we will do, Congressman, is we will have.
Let's let him finish his question, then we'll get
You
back.
have not addressed the issue.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You dance all around.
Okay.
You did not give any specific solutions on what you want to do. Anybody can stop.
Okay, no, thank you. Hold on, no, let me ask you. Can you help me with the solution you'd like to see me do?
Sure. Send them back. That's all I'm saying. That's it. Other than that, they will start playing us. It is math. It's simple math. They will overtake us in numbers at the rate they have. They cannot be U.S. citizens. You are doing our next generation some servitude. I'm telling you, it's just simple math.
I know.
That's it. It's simple
I'm
math.
very good at that. Let me share something with you. Most of the persons that are here right now, under the technical definition, do not qualify for asylum.
I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about the children that they have. They will be U.S. citizens, and they will have a voting block. All we have to do now is look at the Hispanic voting block they have now. They get everything there. Look at our communities. You should see the schools that they have as compared to the schools that our children attend. It is simple math. Count. That's all you have to do.
Okay, thank you.
One generation.
Thank you, sir. Sisters.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Zakiya Muhammad, and my concern is the immigrants, preferably the Haitian and the African immigrants. As you know, your father, Reverend Jesse Jackson, in 1983 went to Florida when Haitians were coming here, fleeing Haiti, being washed up on the shores, and I sponsored 5 Haitians myself. So here again, I have gotten back involved with the Haitian Museum of Chicago and the United African House where the Africans are. I am volunteering my service to make sure that the African and Haitian immigrants are getting what the Venezuelan and others are getting. At this point, they are being left out. They're being left out, Jonathan. They had a refugees fair. What did I say?
You said John, like you know, but it's.
Well, I do know him.
I
Since
know
he
you
was
know
so
him,
boy.
but put a handle on
I
it.
know him since he was. I don't have to. He know where I'm coming from. So let me talk.
She knows me. I'm
So,
Jonathan. That ain't changed.
yeah, that ain't nothing changed about that. So anyway, as I was trying to say, they had a refugee job fair. And it was put on by the, I believe it was Rogers Parks Chambers of Commerce. No Haitians, no Africans were invited. I called both places that I'm working with, African House, Haitian Museum. They knew nothing about it, okay? Another case, they are going to, according to the University of Chicago, I attended a luncheon last week and they had a representative there, a doctor, I can't pronounce her name. She's in mental health. Well, they are training Spanish-speaking, non-professional people to come in and help the Venezuelan Spanish-speaking people with trauma, as if the African and Haitian people are not experiencing trauma. So I emailed her and told her that we would be very happy to be a part of that program to send our people there. I have not heard from her yet. So bottom line, without me going through through some other stuff that you all don't even want to hear. We,
You want to be fair so other people can answer.
no, I want to be fair, but maybe I can talk to you on the personal side. There needs to be more open lines of communication into the Haitian Museum of Chicago and to the African organization. It should be open up. If you're helping migrants, immigrants, or whatever, don't ignore the African and the Haitians. That's happening now, okay? And Brother Kukla Torre left this proposal for me to give to you and a book written about the Black heroes of the fire department. And so I'm supposed to give it to you at some point, and I will. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I did have a conversation with the city manager for immigrants, and I specifically brought up who was speaking Creole that could talk with the Haitian immigrants, and they had no one on staff that was speaking in Creole. This is a concern. This is a concern that I do have. Let's follow up. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to everyone. I ask that if you could make it a question or a statement, either one's fine. We've got people recording your questions and your comments. You can come up afterwards or after you speak and make sure that one of our staff people get your name and information so we can respond to you, okay? Thank you.
My name is Jocelyn McClellan, and I'm here because I'm excited about having the opportunity to hear from you. Thank you for everything that you shared so far. I also want to express my concern about the fact that there's a young lady in this room who's been passing out flyers encouraging people not to vote in 2024. Really? What? If you've received one, can you hold it up? Because I don't have my hand. Give mine to you. Okay, tore yours up. Good for you. I just want to make sure anybody who received a flyer encouraging them not to vote for Biden in 2024 to understand that was absolute mayhem, stupidity. I'm just really indignant about the fact that someone does such a
Thank you. So much. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, okay, Congressman Jackson. My name is Anastasia Sinat. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Anastasia Sinat. I am the president of the Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois. Hello, Sora. I see you. I wanted to say thank you, Sister Muhammad, for bringing up the point of Black immigrants. A lot of people are focused on the light-skinned Spanish-speaking immigrants, and they're not focused on the Black immigrants.
Makes sense, yeah.
Last week, we had 30 families. We needed to translate in Creole. How to apply for asylum, how to get phones, how to get tablets. We don't have any support from the city. We don't have any support from the federal government. These are just volunteers that I was able to recruit in order to get to do this work. We had the general manager of the Hyatt that was willing to give us space. We had it's called the Dirty Laundry. It's a Black-owned business in Hyde Park that was willing to give those immigrants an opportunity to clean their clothes. So when people are very upset and they're speaking, I want you to be cognizant of the fact that it's not just these light-skinned Spanish, which are Black descendants, but light-skinned Spanish people. There are immigrants like my parents who come from Haiti, okay? I'm first generation. There's a lot of us here in Illinois. There's a lot of us that have been supporting the Jackson family for years, and we already know that your father supports us. But I want you to remember us because we do need you to take that title to transfer the interference that the United States government has had in the country of Haiti so that we can stay home. Don't nobody want to be in no 30-degree weather when we got 80-degree weather in Haiti. Don't nobody want any gang-affiliated governments. We want to be free. We want to be democratic, but we're coming to the United States because we don't have any help. The president of Haiti was assassinated. There were 14,000 of us in Texas, as you know. And what happened to us? We were bussed. And when we were whipped with the horses, all of a sudden we weren't on the news anymore, and it was only the Spanish. So when we're thinking about these immigrants and these migrants that are here in Chicago, I don't want you to forget the Black ones, like my family, like my friends. I want you to take care of us. I want you to help us
Beautiful. Okay.
Brother Tyrone?
Yes. Check. Transparent, that's my brother. That's my brother. We disagree, but that's my brother. I just want to say, anyway, what the sister said, I don't give a damn about no Joe Biden. So if that lady want to pass out something about that, that's her free will. Y'all can't be forcing democracy on people. She got the right, just like you got the right to say vote for Joe Biden. I got the right as somebody who represents formerly incarcerated person to say Joe Biden and Clinton 94 crime bill created that. And we haven't recovered from that. The only asylum seekers that's perpetually discriminated against in this country by everybody is formerly incarcerated people. They have 18,000 homeless ex-cons, yet they're around here talking about public safety. You don't even know what these men are. Then you let more ex-convicts in here in the name of migrants. But they want to tell you that it's this on the state, it's on the Republic. All politics are local. In this state, don't let them fool you. From the top, from the lieutenant governor to Tony Prackwinkle, to the mayor, to the police chief, to the state's attorney, to the aldermen, to the congressperson, to the state rep, all are black.
Well, we are.
You got 150 elected black positions, and our communities look the way they look.
Now that's it. That's it. I'm sorry. That's it.
They ain't going to legislate for us without ever bringing us at the table. I did 21 years in the prison. What they gonna tell me about what we need? They ain't never spent one day in the cell. But they legislate for your nephew, cousin, and son. Now, furthermore, ain't no kids in here. Ain't no teenagers in here.
Right.
Over 150 murdered young men from ages 16 to 24, and ain't no kids in here. That's the problem. You old people, y'all keep voting the same way. Hook, line, and single. Without alcohol and everything. Ain't the very babies gonna kill y'all at. These kids are little. Hey, ain't nothing nobody saying no more important than this. Ain't nothing nobody saying more important than this. I'm tired of y'all playing games with these babies. These babies gonna start driving y'all, but they already doing it. They gonna kill y'all, then y'all get contact now. 60% unemployment rate for 18 to 24, and you got money for money.
Alderman. Something they got 2 minutes, Tank. They got 2 minutes. 2 minutes, Tank. Okay.
Please, just 1 second, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I signed up for this whipping. Come on up here, Tyrone. Sir, I want to ask you.
When Trump got inaugurated, I knew this country was screwed up, but I never realized it until he was become president. I spent 6 years doing nothing but research and writing about the mess of America, and I have to tell you, I am sick. And let me give you a couple of key points, because we're not going to win unless we go after it all together. Here's the first point. This country is being run by a group called the Power Elite. Now, that was a 1956 book. But if you go on Google and Google the Power Elite, you can see a dozen people want to sell it to you. Every one of them gives you an overview of what the book contains. You read the overview, you don't have to read the book. Basically, we had a gilded age when the rich and the powerful controlled the country. And you know how that was. FDR managed to get us out of it, but just barely, and not far enough. And they're still in control. They still run their job, their mission through the Republican Party. No politics, this is criminal. Now, the only way we can stop them is to act up. When police were killing blacks on a daily basis, and their district attorneys were saying, well, it was justified. When police were saying it was justified, how many million people started marching? Millions all over the world saying none of this, no more, enough. And guess what? All of a sudden, district attorneys were prosecuting those killers that they called cops. And that's what we have to do. We have to all act up and say enough, enough. There is so much wrong in this country. You go to any other country, they have universal health care. They have parental leave. They have sick leave. This is all government mandated. We don't have any of it. All the money in our country goes to the military because that's the best place to rob us. They have I'm sorry. I have more, but I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. If you could, please, in the fairness of other people, if we can limit the comments or questions to a minute, we'd love to hear from everyone. And so thank you so much. We will respond if you leave us some information. Yes, sir.
All right, my name is LaMayo Washington, and my question is very simple. I do not understand, being a taxpayer, that immigrants can come to this country and get a stipend, link, a free room and board, free child care, and some of them are getting Social Security. And when my ancestors were released from slavery, they got their clothes on their back, but yet they were told to be happy. So why am I and everyone in this country footing the bill for people who are non-Americans, who don't vote, who don't fight any of our wars, who never pay the tax, and we're told that if we say anything, we're xenophobic? Tell me why. Tell us all why.
I think it's wrong. I mean, it shouldn't happen, but this is a U.S. immigration system we have that is broken. You remember the great tennis player, Novak?
Yes.
Djokovic. They wouldn't let him in the United States to play tennis during COVID. He's more than 6 feet away from everyone, and now people are coming in without shots. I mean, come on, what kind of sense does that make? Cubans come in, they send the Haitians back. That doesn't make sense. So we've always had a bad immigration policy. We call Mexico the back door. What does that make Canada the front door? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, just everything about the U.S. immigration system has been broken. Them receiving those funds at the same time they're cutting back on SNAP and WIC is absolutely wrong. This is part of the fight in Washington, D.C. Do you know how many Ukrainians were settled in America?
How many, John?
Over 100,000, but you didn't see anybody sleeping in tents.
Right.
It has a lot to do on racial lines. Absolutely. I agree. What's the solution? It's broken. There is no solution to this right now. The first thing is, we're going to get to that. The first thing is you got to stop what Mr. Abbott is doing and bringing them here. U.S. immigration is a totally different issue. What can we do right now?
Tank, go get that. Go get that.
Department of Justice and Homeland Security. Persons under the age of 18 is a part of child smuggling. You can't have more than one conversation. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Ruby Crafter. I see too many immigrants everywhere, South Side, Chicago, everywhere. And it's very sick to the stomach. And I agree, the SNAP bed. I've been diabetic for almost 6 years. My mom used to take care of me. She's been there for 11 years. I have my father's black. Because I will go to Superman fan, then doing art for actor almost 26 years later. We got enough to take advantage of me. I'm a good disability everywhere. We got help with inquest. We had to make sure vote for Democrats, don't vote for Republicans. We got enough to take advantage of me. And I wish my mom was here. I miss your father a lot. We had to be very, very careful with disability and inquest everywhere. I will go to Superman fan. I'm going to have to step back with Pajon because they made too many mistakes without my permission was not acceptable. I will go to Superman fan, but I will not do this art anymore as much as I did.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Marcella Gregory, and I would like to ask you, we did not vote for a sanctuary city. That's not what we voted for, okay? We want to know what are you and all of the Democrats going to do for us, the Black Americans that put you all in office. We're tired of this blame game. You're in office, you have power, and we're holding you and all of the Democrats accountable. If you can't give illegal immigrants, which are illegal, do you know the word of illegal? We cannot go to the police station if we have issues. They are housing these people. That is a housing violation. They should not even be in the police stations. You, along with, and I'm going to hold you accountable because you're the face, because you came out here to address us. I'm not personally attacking you, but I am attacking the system. I want every last one of you all to be held. I want your bank accounts to be seized because we want to know where this money is at. I'm being serious. We're not going to stop. You are not going to continue to give our money away to illegal immigrants. I also want to let everyone know I am in the health field. I left a job because they wanted me to be vaccinated, and I thought that was against my civil rights. You have all of these people have not been vaccinated. They're living in close quarters. They have not been criminally investigated. We have predators around us. They have a fentanyl on the border. Their Caucasian kids are dying by the boatloads. And you all think it's okay for you all to slide them and pocket them in our community. You have closed schools. You have taken all kind of guns. We got different parks in different areas that you all are steady trying to move these people in on us. So we're failing the lawsuit. We're also failing treason because this is crimes against humanity, especially Black Americans. We put you in office, we're going to hold you accountable.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Yes.
My question or comment is related to the comment that the gentleman related to formerly incarcerated individuals. First of all, I think that the federal government needs to establish a means for individuals to expunge their records and other than receiving a pardon from the president. In addition to that, they are offering these migrants work permits to work here in the city and the state, and then they're not doing any type of, there's no federal laws that require employers to hire qualified, formerly incarcerated individuals. There is a population of incarcerated individuals who are well educated. They have master's degrees, PhDs, and they're formerly incarcerated and cannot get an employment due to that former incarceration. And yet you're going to allow immigrants who are not U.S. citizens to be permitted to work here. You have no background information on them. and they're not required to provide a background check on those individuals. Yet, U.S. citizens are required to go through a full background check, even though you're fully qualified for those jobs. You cannot receive that job because of that background check, and the federal government has not come up with any rules or laws to permit to prevent employers from discriminating against qualified individuals for those jobs. The state of Illinois came out with a law that was supposed to eliminate that discrimination, but you can't prove that that employer is discriminating against you. You all need to do something about this situation, about employing Black people largely, because the larger percentage of formerly incarcerated individuals are Black and brown individuals. You are affecting the ability for our communities to grow financially if they cannot be employed, if they cannot purchase homes so that they can pay the taxes on the homes and things of that nature. I think that there is just really a serious disconnect when you allow individuals who are not paying taxes to the country and you're giving them privileges that tax-paying citizens, even though we are formerly incarcerated individuals, we still have to pay taxes. And yet we're expected to operate at the same level of non-incarcerated.
Let someone else. I think I have your point. I agree with you 100%. Tyrone shares this with me all the time. In the interest of time, I apologize, but if there was something you want to wrap up, or we can let someone else speak.
I guess that's my main point, and I just think that it's very unfair for you all to keep housing and, like she said, providing all these services and things to people and not giving them to Black people.
I agree. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Rady Kilpatrick. I live in this community as well. My name is Rady Kilpatrick. I live in this community. I've been a landlord for over 25 years. But this is my thing about all of this too. In the community where these migrants are being placed, has anyone reached out to any non-for-profit organizations or organizations in the community so that they can assist with this as well as get funding like some of these bigger organizations are? And some of these organizations can offer wraparound services. And if all of this works for these migrants, all this hand-holding that's being done for them and all of these extra things, then we need to do that for these young Black people out here. Because they need hand-holding too. They need to get acclimated to adulthood. Because some children had a really tough life. And they didn't have the parents there to help them get acclimated. We were all blessed enough that we had parents that helped us get acclimated. But unfortunately, a lot of them slipped through the cracks. So all I'm asking is that give people in the community a chance to help our people in the community. Because that's what's important. So if you're going to do it for the migrants, do it for our people too, okay?
Thank you so much. I agree. Mr. Ryan,
Yeah, Congressman, all I can speak for is my experience in Chatham, South Shore, and I'm so happy that when a French-Haitian immigrant named John Point Baptiste du Sable came and married a Potawatomi woman, and the natives gave him a land called Chicago, that those natives didn't say send them back. I'm so happy that when my great-great-grandmama came here from Mississippi, that whoever was here didn't say send her back. Hassan, please stand up. I was honored in 2017 to be detained and deported from an African country with you, Congressman. We were both detained in Mauritania, where the white Arabs enslaved the Black Africans. One of the people that helped us in that journey when we were in Africa was a man that just walked through 11 countries to get to America, named El Hassan El Hakar, who lives with us now, and through his African values has softened my heart and strengthened my value system. Now, with the work that I do with young Black boys and girls in Chicago with music, I have an opportunity to take them to Africa, to his village, to see what they do have in Inglewood, to see what they do have in Chatham. A lot of times our perspective is just like the enemy because of our proximity to whiteness, and we make everything about money, but nothing about the values of our community. So, Congressman, thank you for your values. Thank you for standing up for our community.
Oh, and you on the subcommittee for the Africans. I want to know what the Haitians want to know. What are you going to do for the African and Haitian immigrants? What is happening? And the money they send in Abbott for border security, how much of that are you bringing to Chicago for the immigrants he's sending? Thank you, sir. Brother Rhymefest, I'm going to have to get back. There's no answer for that at the moment. I've been there 10 months. And what I found out is what the federal responsibility is. First, we started loosening the sanctions on Venezuela so people can return home. Second, we have to get rid of the embargo so they can flourish, so people can go back. And the third part that we have to deal with is to stop the child smuggling. You cannot put a child on a bus unaccompanied by an adult without his parents and ship them across state lines. That is child smuggling. That's why I sent the letter to the Department of Homeland Security and to the Justice Department so they aren't prostituting these children. That's what I've done as a federal official. Now there's going to be some state work and some city work. So I'm going to coordinate with them, but you're going to have a chance to talk with the leaders of the city and the state on those issues as well. That was my first step. I want to thank you. But on one last note with Brother Rhymefest, we went to Mauritania in Africa. And when they found that we were on the plane, they told us to stay on the plane, not to get off. And then they made us get off the plane and kept us in a lounge for 16 hours because we were there to look into the last country that had not abolished slavery on earth. Thank you, Brother Ryan. And this brother's family was enslaved for generations. He walked through 11 countries to get here, and he's teaching me something about blackness that my grandpapa didn't teach me. So we got to be real careful when we talk about who's illegal. You might mess around and meet an immigrant and find yourself again. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Universal Health Networks, and I would like to know what can I do as a person in this community and a business or not-for-profit owner to help with some of the issues that's going on, especially when dealing with our youth, making sure that they are getting educated. AI is said to take over 300 million jobs, and our children need help being educated, and we need technology centers in the south side of Chicago immediately to get them up to par with what's going on and the changes. Who can I talk to here today that can help me as a non-for-profit to get the funding that I need so that I can help the community that I live in for the youth that need it?
Well, thank you so much. We're not going to be able to answer every question, but if you make a question and give us your name, email, we will respond. So thank you for that. Appreciate you wanting to be a resource. I will share that also with our local elected officials. Those that want to give and help and share, we're going to reach out to you. Those that have questions, I would ask that we do this kind of in rapid fire. This is to go on until 4. I'm going to stand around afterwards so we can listen to you, but I want to be fair to those in attendance to honor our time commitment. Okay, we've got another 20 minutes. Yes, sir.
Okay, my name is Lionel Nixon. I'm a 72-year indigenous resident of the city of Chicago. I'm also the president emeritus of the Coalition to Save South Shore Country Club Park. And I'm very happy today to be in this building to observe the fine work that Jonathan Jackson, Congressman of the 1st Congressional District, is pursuing. Now, I have 3 different areas. Number 1, at the highest level, there's a hole in the border. People are not being vetted. They're not being checked for weapons. So it's possible that some very bad people are able to sneak in the country. Number 2, I'm calling out to President Joe Biden as I speak. Joe, you need to pay Chicago back every dime that they have spent on behalf of illegal immigrants. Now, I don't want to see any babies die. You have to deal with your heart, whoever your God is. There's children out here have to have some compassion for them young people. The other thing that I want you to know is this. I worked for Congressman Metcalf, Congressman Washington, and Congressman Charlie Hayes. We had task forces. It might be a good idea to think about the idea of creating a community task force.
I need this to be a moment, I'm sorry, can we?
Okay, so I'm going to end by this. Keep on keeping on, Jonathan.
I appreciate you. Give this gentleman a round of applause. He was out here when I was a child fighting to make sure they did not tear down South Shore Cultural Center. One of the reasons we still have this building. Thank you for your service, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Shalise Walker-Neal-Murray. My question, I have two. One, I would like to see, and maybe this is more of a local question, something done about the business owners who don't live in the area, businesses that are, the properties that are vacant, but the really high rent that they request. It's not feasible for anyone who wants to open a business to pay those rents, but they don't live here, they don't care, so if you charge $6,000 a month or whatever. And then the loopholes to avoid paying property taxes on those businesses during the vacancies. So that's one of, and then the other thing I'd like to see, and this is probably at the federal level, I would like to see attorneys for people in civil cases. If you have a civil case, you should have a right to a lawyer, and I say that as an attorney, because I have had so many people who come, they can't afford a lawyer. Yep. And they're at risk of losing their homes, their children. Yep. And just so you know, we are opening up a legal clinic on 79th and Oglesby. So hopefully we can help out more.
Thank you very much. Marissa, she can hold it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
How you doing?
Wonderful, and yourself?
Congressman, I'm fine. My name is Tamiko Holt.
Can you talk a little more?
My name is Tamiko Holt. I'm the owner of Oakenback Construction Corp., but I'm also the president of What's in It for the Black People, the national and the regional. Okay, so I'm gonna speak on this topic alone. Everything I'm saying is on the federal level. What are you all doing, or are you supporting the waivers that Chicago is putting in on spending federal allocated monies? That's number one. Number two, our Black businesses, and I'm not talking about in the service industries, are under attack from places that receive federal funding. Nothing is being done. We put in for waivers from the Department of Labor to train our own people. I have a small construction company, yet we were denied that. But you want to tell me you want to give them waivers to pretty much hire these people and put them to work? That is disrespectful, and it's a slap in our face. But don't keep doing things and think you pretty much you're moving over the top of our head and we don't understand. We understand the spaces. I want to know, what are you doing? Are you opposed to waivers for the allocation of spending of federal dollars? Or you're going to let them do it? And if they do it, then what you're going to do from all the times we've been blocked, because there's paperwork on everything that I'm talking about. And let's talk about Chicago housing authorities. They have removed the Social Security mechanism from the websites when you put it in for housing, but yet our ex-offenders and us as citizens, we still have to give up Social Security numbers for our babies. And the ex-offenders have to give up Social Security numbers, so this is how they're being denied. So can you explain to me how you got illegal immigrants in federally funded housing, but you won't house the U.S. citizens without a Social Security number? We need to know about all of those things. And we need to talk about, we want forensic audits. We want forensic audits on every dime that's being spent, because we know that it's a bunch of stealing going on as well. Or what they call the price gouging. And I'm not talking to give a speech. I'm talking about we want to see these actions start happening now. And are you saying no to federal waivers for them to spend the money any way they want to when it comes down to Chicago and any other entity, sister agency in Chicago that's getting these federal dollars? Because they're using them for the resources for the illegal immigrants, okay? So we want to know, what is your take on it?
Thank you so much. Half of what you shared with me, I did not know. I want to get your information so that we can follow up. It's very specific on the waiver program. You talked about on the small business / employment, as well as the HUD. So please give me a chance to respond back to you after I look into it. Mylan will take your information.
Yes, sir.
like to know more about it. Yes, sir. Hey, Frank.
Good afternoon, Congressman Jackson. I'm really appreciating having the time to come out and talk to you. So, I know you like history. Let me tell you about the consolidated 21st, formerly 34th Ward. It is the largest part of your district within the city of Chicago. In that ward, there were at one time more than 10,000 jobs. It was steel heaven. When Dutch Boy left, when Harvester left, when Chicago Bridge and Iron left, when Libby's left, they also left large pockets of environmental contamination. And now, at the site of Jewel Grand Bazaar on 115th Street, 10% of the migrant problem will be solved in the 21st Ward. Nobody wants to see a warrior until you got a ballot. How about that, Tyrone? We can't let that happen. What I want to know is those homes who are in close proximity, what will happen to those homeowners in Morgan Park, in Maple Park, in Sheldon Heights? How will they keep it clean? How will they patrol it? What about the security? And what about the housing values at the end? If they have money for everything else, then they can protect those people who are in close proximity. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Brother Frank. I appreciate you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi there.
I have two questions, actually. One of them is, what is the long-term plan for economic asylum seekers and the illegal immigrants once the situation has improved? Will there be pathways to legal residency or citizenship, or is the intention to repatriate them? Because we can't keep all of them here. It's unfeasible and it's unrealistic for the Americans here. My second question is, how do you intend to strike a balance between humanitarian concerns and economic sustainability when addressing the situation of these economic asylum seekers and illegal immigrants? We both know we can't keep everyone, we can't take everyone. We both know that we can't help anyone if we can't help ourselves. We don't have the money for everyone else, and we can't even help ourselves. I feel like it was a spit in the face for the government to pull this money out of thin air, out of taxpayers' back pocket, to transport, board, feed, and house all of these economic migrants and illegal immigrants, when we have natural-born American citizens and legal immigrants who have been disenfranchised for just as long. It's not fair, and it's not realistic to continue accepting so many people when we know we cannot keep them here.
Well, thank you so much. Let me listen and get back to you. I need your contact information. In the interest of time, to let everyone speak, I can't answer each question at this time, but you'll be able to go back to our website and see answers to all of these questions, okay? Yes, sir.
Okay, Jonathan, I'm Ron Ware, and I promise I will be brief. I want to ask you about a question. This happened 3 months ago when they were bringing the immigrants over there at Rice College. Citizens said, we don't deserve this because we pay our taxes. And I'm conflicted. What exactly did she mean?
What the question was, sir?
She said that we pay our taxes and we don't deserve these immigrants in our community. What was the underlying meaning of that? I didn't quite understand what she was saying. I don't know. She was just a person that asked the question in front of the camera. And she said we pay our taxes over here, and we don't deserve these immigrants coming into our community.
Yeah, if you could see me afterwards, I'm a little confused. So.
All right, Jesus.
What's your question?
Will you be paying your taxes?
Okay.
In the interest of
We've got about 13 months to let it go. What did she mean about we pay our taxes? Do we say pay our taxes on the south side? Or do we, what was the meaning behind it?
So, let me just put it this way. Let me get through the rest of these questions. I don't know that I can answer that or exactly clear. Huh? Okay, it's an opening question. Okay. I'm sorry, sir. I can't answer at this time. But I do want to hear from you. But one of the things I'm hoping this starts, as a representative, I come back to you to listen and learn, to hear your concerns on what we should be doing in Washington. No one has all of the answers, and that way I'm weighing on your opinion on what you want to see happen.
That's beautiful.
So that's why I'm here. Okay, and I can tell you, part of this was an update on where I've been and what I've been doing. Then the other part is to listen and learn from you on what it is that you want to see done in the 1st Congressional District. So this is no monologue, it's a dialogue for you to tell me what do you want so we can implement it. And I hear you on we need resources for our community first. I got the message loud and clear. Yes, sir. Yep.
Congressman Jackson, thank you for having me on this forum.
Hey, Brother Mark.
All right. I'm Mark Wallace, Executive Director of Citizens for Laws, Red Light Cameras, and I Tend to Win. Also the host of the Pizza Show on intellectualradio.com. I wanted to you started out this meeting talking about the depopulation of about 260,000 black people from the city of Chicago. And we hear so much about public safety and crime and all of those things. We have the greatest opportunity to have the most transformational project to go forward. It's 90% complete to build the South Suburban Airport that will bring hundreds of thousands of jobs. IDOT just Friday the contract to start phase 1 of the interchange for the South Suburban Airport. I'm asking for you and the other black United States Congressmen of Illinois to get with Robin Kelly, support Robin Kelly, and to go to the governor and tell the governor to build that airport because it will transform the black community in the South region and Chicago. That's how we bring public safety, is by bringing economic justice back to our communities.
Thank you, Brother Mark Wallace.
Hello, my name is Teresa Peavy. I am a lifelong resident of Chicago. I'm part of your ward, we'll talk later. I was attacked at gunpoint and beat January 7th, which is why I'm on this walker. I am also a gun advocate. I think everybody should be protected. But my question to you is, I saw that you have some work done or voted for gun safety. What do you plan to do in regards to effective, responsible gun ownership so that somebody else doesn't get attacked and beat at gunpoint by 4 people that I fought? What do you plan to do? Because this wasn't me a year ago.
Thank you much. We're going to continue to get comments.
I need a comment.
Okay.
Just
Well, first of all, this is a federal issue. The amount of guns that are passed through this city, and we hear it every other year when there is a boxcar full of guns that are somehow mysteriously dropped in the neighborhood, that people are able to get in there. What we are doing right now, I have tried to get a... First of all, the city of Chicago, bear with me 1 second, does not have a gun shop or gun range or no blacks that sell any bullets anywhere in the world. These guns are being imported and dropped into our community. We have to close the federal loopholes where people are getting guns. Right here off 71st Street, not far from here, you can go buy a gun for $50. These children are getting guns. They can't buy them legally in a store. I want to see a federal gun bust from the manufacturers. It's the only product that is not a liability associated with the manufacturer. And your name, ma'am? Your name? Teresa. Okay. I can. Thank you, Teresa. Yes, sir.
Devin Bourdin, West Center for the Black People. Congressman Jackson, thank you for hosting us this evening. My question is about the Freedmen designation. After Reconstruction, black people and indigenous people were known as freedmen. We would like that designation so that we can access federal contracts both nationally and locally. We need that. Just like the MENA for the North Africans and the Arabs, they got theirs. We need that designation so that we can capture everything that was listed in the freedmen accounts for the 40 acres and a mule that was assigned to us after the Civil War. We need that. And that is something that we can control in the federal legislation. Thank you very much.
I like that idea. Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Jackie Page, and I am with the National Housing Residents Association. We are a housing advocacy group, but we have to pivot because of the migrants. I want to know, do you believe that federal legislation has anything to do with the migrant situation here in Chicago?
Federal what?
Federal policies, the open borders. Do you believe that is directly resulting in what is happening here in Chicago?
I personally think it has to deal with our foreign policy. When we started not having an ambassador to Cuba,
Yes.
and people want to move to Cuba, stay in the Caribbean, when we don't have an ambassador to Bolivia. Just this last week, we found out there was not a confirmed ambassador to Israel or to Egypt. When we open up these economies and stop boycotting Cuba, stop having sanctions on Venezuela, their economies can grow. We need to change foreign policy and stop running the people out of their countries.
Yes.
We've had a long history in Chile where we sponsored the CIA in the overthrow of government.
Yes.
These people want a stable government, but we cannot go into South and Central America, destabilize it, and wonder why are they coming to America.
Yes.
We have to change foreign policy.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Hello, thank you so much for hosting this event today. My name is Tyler. I'm a student at the University of Chicago in Hyde Park. And I wanted to ask just about a little bit of inconsistency in messaging that I have heard. You have said today that $100 billion to Ukraine isn't so much, and I could do so much for the people in this community that are on the street, they're struggling, they don't have anything, they're looking for food. But then on September 30th, which is just a short month ago, you released a statement saying that today is not the day to celebrate because we didn't pass Ukraine funding. How are you supposed to address the issues of this community when you're still advocating to vote for Ukraine funding in the House of Representatives?
I did not advocate voting for Ukraine. That is an ongoing war, number one. And in light of what is going on now, it has expanded. This is the problem. That has to deal with Belarus, has to deal with Ukraine, and has to deal with Poland. And now we have to deal with Russia, and they were trying to implicate Iran. According to intelligence, there is nothing that ties Iran into Belarus and to Ukraine. There is nothing that ties Iran into Israel and Hamas. Iran is out of the picture. When I say that Ukraine funding, that was to wrap up that war. Now it has bled, and they have to come to the table. I agree with the Pope. Choose the side of peace. Sides have to be reconciled. I don't know what the end is going to be, but I know the funding is drying up and has run out. So they have to change their plan. They thought that was going to be a 6-month war when they first sold it 2 years ago, and now it's gone for 18 months and over $137 billion, and they want another $60 billion. I will not be supporting it. Yes. I'm sorry, we're going to have just 10 minutes. I do apologize. Give me your questions. We can stick around a little while, but I have to apologize in advance. I've got a 7:30 flight to Oklahoma on the Agriculture Committee because this is a farm bill year. We're going to have another event right after Thanksgiving in December, so I will keep in touch with you. And after we hear just a few more, if you can come forward and share with me, and I'm going to ask a friend of mine, Nicole McKnighton, to close us out in a word of prayer, and then I'll be available for questions one-on-one, okay? Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Shanika Webb, and I just had a question concerning for the youth. My name is Shanika Webb, and I just had a question concerning our youth. And basically the question was, how do we plan on expanding activities and hobbies and facilities for our youth and our Black communities? And this is what I mean.
On the north side of Chicago, I can walk 2 blocks from my home. There will be a park, a tennis court, baseball, basketball, volleyball, and a pool. I can walk 2 to 3 blocks to my right on the north side of Chicago. There will be a park with a tennis court, volleyball, baseball, basketball, and a pool. It seems as though the children on our south side don't have anything to do. They're bored. They're getting into the wrong things. So my question was, how do we plan on incorporating these opportunities for our youth and our minority Black communities on the south side?
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you for that question. I don't want to put it off. That's a city issue. We'll have a chance to talk. I mean, we don't deal with the zoning on our local municipality. Hey, Brother Smith, thank you so much. Okay.
Jonathan, I have known you for a long time to be a freedom fighter, to always be on the right side of people.
Right.
But one thing I have realized, that Jim Crow has messed us up so bad that we want funding and campaign donations, and once we get into office, we somehow forget where we come from. And I'm not talking about you, but I look at our other elected officials, how they allow Emma Miss to get abused at city council.
Okay.
And as I came in here, I wasn't going to say anything. But when I walked in here and I seen the city of Chicago ticketing all of the legal people in here to voice their concern about the illegal people, that's not right.
Who got ticketed?
No. The city of Chicago, when I walked in, the boot people and the ticket people out there writing up all the Black people. So what I'm saying is,
we paid for all the parking.
Yeah, but well, fix it with the city. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, dear brother. I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of these Uncle-time Negro elected officials that the only thing they think of CTU and the rest of these unions gonna keep them in office. I'm the first person that stopped the bus of the illegal migrants in Wadsworth, and I won't be the last. So what I'm saying, dear brother, look, I'm uncensored. I have not took a grant nor a dollar, so they can't control me. I'm a free Black man. So what I'm saying to you is, what are we going to do about reparations?
Yeah. Thank you, Brother Smith. If you will, please just 2 last comments, and then I'll be available to talk with you. But I want to dismiss the program. This was scheduled 1 to 4. I want to honor that. We started on time, close on time, and then you can come forward, and we will respond to any question that's given to us. Yes, ma'am? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Congressman. My name is Beverly Parson Flowers, and my question is, when are we going to get the homelessness up off the street? And my other question is, all of our youth, well, I'm taking it from 40 down to 14 now. Once they are incarcerated, can you please help get a program so that when they come out of the jails, they will have a job and will not have to resort back to crime? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Yes?
My question to you, my name is Jonathan, like you, but I would like to ask you, can you create a legislation where there will be a cap on how many people can come into our state? Is that possible that you could do that?
You have to talk a little louder. I can't hear. What'd you say?
Okay. Can you start working on a legislation that would limit the amount of people that came in through the system that they have right now, welcoming undocumented people into the state? Because you can't accept everybody into Illinois. That's what I'm asking. Can some kind of legislation be made where there's a cap on the amount of migrants that come in? I mean, they're here, but that will eliminate more people from continuing to come in, because do we have
the federal government has to deal with the policy on who is allowed citizenship and to immigrate. The second part, what's happened here is specifically that I'm trying to address is the governor targeting Chicago from the state of Texas. He is targeting bringing buses up here, and they have minors on the bus. So my specific letter is dealing with child protection because children are getting off the bus. That's a federal policy on who can immigrate into the United States, and that has to be addressed. No, we're only 4% of the world's population, and everybody cannot come to these shores. We have to recognize that. So I agree with you on that. But let me tell you this here. I don't know, but a lot of police just lined up, and I've got some 3rd district trauma. So let me see what the police want. Come up, officer. By all means.
Lieutenant. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Irvin from the 3rd District. Thank you all. I see all my 3rd District family, but you all just address what Andre Smith was just talking about. What happened was someone sent the meter maids, who are not the police, who are civilians from the city of Chicago Finance Department. So they were outside writing tickets, and one of my officers was monitoring the lots and said, "There's some people out here writing tickets." When she asked them who they were, they said, "We're from the city, we're the meter maids," and I guess they were sent over to write tickets. When I told her to have her to come in so they can explain, they rented out the whole lot, all of the parking was paid for. So the other event coordinators went and met with her, and they squashed all of the tickets. So That's how 3 do. Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you, Lieutenant.
You may want to move to our ward. We got policing under control. Thank you so much. Listen, this makes you love Chicago when the police work for you. Thank you so much. Thank you, officer. Nicole, I'm going to ask a childhood friend of mine, Nicole,
Lieutenant,
to please close us in a word of prayer.
Oh, she got to come over here.
Yep. And I'd like to thank our representative from the 3rd District, Ms. Franklin. Thank you very much. I would like all of my campaign volunteers and friends to please stand up. There are so many. I see Frank, I see Eli, I see Darius, I see James, I see, who else do I see? Odessa, I see Phyllis, Claudette trying to hide. Thank you so much. I see Mrs. Ham, I see JJ. Who else is that over there? Stan, my eyes are bad. I see Jerry, I see Floyd, I think Ann. Thank you. We're going to have a quick word of prayer, and then we'll take some questions. Nicole, thank you.
Thank you. May we close our eyes and bow our heads. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to share our thoughts and our feelings. We ask that you would bless Congressman Jackson for being courageous to have this voluntary event to share and to listen and to learn. Lord, we ask that you would hold him up on every leaning side. Let no harm come to him, oh God. We ask that the people that he represents would see him as an advocate for them and not as an adversary, oh God. We ask, oh God, that you would dispatch angels to unite us, oh God, to let no forces tear us apart, oh God, so that we would know that we can do more together than we can ever do apart, oh God. We ask that you would bless everyone as they leave this place. Let them arrive to their destination safely, oh God, and that we would be prepared the next time to speak and to share intelligently, oh God, and with courage, oh God. We ask it all in your name because we know that you are able. Amen. Amen. Amen.